Welcome, everybody, to the Three Doves podcast. I'm your host, Jason Pulowski. And today, Christa Klossner rejoins us and shares her journey through loss, trauma, and healing, and reminding us that even in the darkest moments, your best days are still ahead. Before we begin, please be advised, this episode contains mature content, including discussions of suicide and death. Listener discretion is advised. We're back again with Christa Klossner. Christa, thank you for being back on the Three Doves podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Christa, in this segment, we want to dig a little bit deeper. We want to go down that trail of Brian and depression. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit more about where we left off with Brian.
Sure. So when I say I started seeing a decline, there was about 5 years.
Okay. We're in a 5-year period here.
That he's declining. But the last year where things were getting really bad.
Just so we have a year status, what year did you start to see this depression?
Probably more like 2012, 2013.
Okay. Yeah.
I started seeing, just the depressed, anxiousness. But that last year, I always talk about like the last year of his life because it was really bad. And that was when I kind of woke up and said something was really wrong. There were people placed in my life that were telling me something was wrong. And
really?
To see somebody,
wow.
We had gone to like a marriage counselor because I was thinking it was my fault, or he's so unhappy because of me. And I remember it was the same person that did our premarital counseling. She goes, you need to get him to see somebody. His mood is just so low. Like, it's not who I remember. His mood's just low. Like, this isn't really him and this isn't you. And so another friend I saw, she hadn't seen Brian in a while. She goes, you need to have him see a psychiatrist. Like, he just is not himself. He kind of was a little bit manic at that time. At that point, he also started making suicidal remarks. And it was things like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I wish I would, wish he's dead. In fact, one of those times I ended up calling his dad to come and get involved because I was starting to get really scared.
Yeah.
We saw numerous doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, all within this year. Tried every diet under the sun, tried bone broth, tried veganism. He worked out. I mean, we are talking, I'd be ordering the organic, bones, grass-fed bones and making all the bone broth, thinking it's a gut issue. And I mean, every piece of research I could do on it, I was trying to fix. And even when he was going to be vegan, I found out later he was taking the kids to Little Caesars to get pizza.
That's Brian.
It didn't really work.
What about to the angry cone?
Oh my gosh, an angry cone. Yes, he would take the kids to all these places.
Now, people don't know what the angry cone is.
I know. You see in San Carlos. If you're old school, it was the old twisty tree in San Carlos. Yeah, and it was all these.
But why was it the angry cone, though?
He was so mad. Like, the guy who owned it hated that he owned it and hated working there. And I would be so scared to order. We would go there when I was dating. And
it's like the ice cream Nazi.
Order. And he would just be so mad and grumpy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But it was the only place that had Superman ice cream. So we always had to go there. And Brian's like, he's so angry. And we just called it angry cone.
Angry cone.
He would go to angry cone with the kids, Little Caesars. Yeah. I'm thinking we're vegan. I'm cooking everything vegan, making everything under the sun. At that point I was working and I stopped working because I started getting concerned about leaving the kids with him. I would come home at some points and he'd just be asleep on the couch and the kids are running all over. So that last year was getting worse and worse and worse. And to the point where people started noticing and saying to get help.
Yeah. Yeah, you're bringing back memory for me too as well when you're speaking, and so it's a little difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
This is an honest to truth. This is a very difficult podcast,
of course,
for us.
Yeah, for sure.
But the drive is that we know there's people listening who are experiencing maybe some of the symptoms.
Yeah.
What were some of the symptoms that you were picking up on that might help people identify this might be occurring in one of their loved ones?
Yeah, very withdrawn.
And then let's be very upfront and stop the podcast just for a second and say, we're not psychiatrists.
No,
we're
not at all.
trained.
No.
We're not saying that this is absolute.
Yes.
But this is what you picked up on. Yeah.
This is what podcast, not us.
Yeah. Yeah. This, seek medical. We're not medical professionals giving any medical advice here. But if you're seeing these traits, the possibility could be there, right? What are some of those traits?
Very withdrawn, very moods all over the place. Brian was a very stable person, and all of a sudden I would wake up and not know who I was going to get. Yeah, just really started to get impatient with the kids, very short-tempered. I struggle talking about that part because it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Especially that last year, it really wasn't him. Like, I cannot stress that enough. It was somebody else completely. He wasn't short-tempered. He wasn't impatient with the kids. He wasn't any of those things. And it really was like I lost him before I lost him. Like, I really did lose him slowly. And then that last year, he was completely gone. And, we were seeing all the doctors we could. We were seeing Christian counselors. We were seeing psychiatrists, psychologists. If we didn't, feel like one was really involved, we would go see another. We did a lot of talk therapy.
Wow.
Tried medications. I would not let him go to the doctor by himself because I didn't feel he was being honest. When he sat in front of a doctor or anybody, he was fine. And it was all in my head, like, what?
Yeah.
And that's like really difficult because then we get in the car and he's back to being, talking about he doesn't want to be here anymore. He's just worn out. He's tired. He's all these things. I mean, there was definitely points, I started finding signs that he really was suicidal, and I could not leave him by himself. I would make him get out of bed and go with me to drop the kids off at school because I was scared about what he would do. I took weapons out of our house. I counted his pills. I got to a point where I did start feeling just like my own mental health was starting to tank because here I am trying to pretend like Daddy's totally fine in front of our 4 young kids. And I'm worried if he's going to get up for work. I'm worried about leaving him by himself. I can't leave the kids. I can't work. So wow. it was really.
That's a lot to hang. That's a lot. That's a heavy burden. That's a heavy load.
It is a heavy load. And I've had people ask, like, why wasn't he Baker acted? And I've even had family members ask me why. And the truth is, he was never that far of ever telling me what he was going to do. It was just, I didn't want to be here. The conversations we would have around that would be, he's just tired. He, wants to go home, meaning heaven. And I'd be like, okay, do you have a plan? All the things, as a nurse to ask, do you have a plan? Do you, keep them safe? And, if you start noticing if they're euphoric, they've probably made a plan, and all these things that I knew as a healthcare, worker to look for. And he didn't follow any of those. And so then when you have people saying he should have been Baker acted, that's worse because he was never there, and he would never admit to it either. When I would ask people to get involved, he would never be honest with what he told me and how he was feeling. So I did look like the person that was kind of losing their mind.
Wow, that's heavy. There was a morning that Brian was on the phone, and you had to run the kids.
Yeah, he had work that day, and he got home, and we had a conversation where he felt, and this was not a new medication. It was something he'd been on a couple months, but it just wasn't doing it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make the appointment. We're going to go back and we're going to sort it out. And I remember he said, I feel like I've done everything. And at this point, I'm still in like, come on, bud, we haven't even touched anything. Like, this is the tip of the iceberg. We have a lot more to try. There's more diets. There's more routines. Like, we'll get this place tested. I mean, I'm thinking of every way to tell him that we still have so much more to do. Like, this isn't it. And so
you're fighting.
I'm fighting.
Yeah, you're in there. You're fighting.
I'm a fighter by nature. And so I'm like, great, we're going to figure this out, and I'm trying to just be like, okay, this is what we're doing next. And I remember I told him we had to make an appointment because we had to get the kids their passports. We were going to take a trip. And I'm like, hey, their passports are in the printer. We got to print those and get all of our, because we had to renew stuff and we got to make an appointment to go downtown. And so we're talking about these future plans. So I go upstairs to do laundry quick, come down, and he's working. He's on the phone. And I remember standing there waiting for him to get off the phone. And I waited a few minutes and he wasn't getting off. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to run and grab the kids. He's fine. He's working. People that are going to do something aren't working. They're laying on the floor. They're not moving. They're in bed. I'm like, he's like actively working towards something. This is great. I'm going to run and get the kids and come back. I remember I had rice in the rice cooker, Wow. I went and got the kids and I remember driving home. I can remember everything about that drive home. And I remember making a joke that he probably burned the rice in the rice cooker. Oh man.
It's okay.
So, I think I can tell this story and I disassociate, but when I start putting the kids in the story, it's hard for me. So okay. I have our 4 small children and we pull in the driveway and I notice his car's backed in and he never is backed in. And when I tell you, like, time stopped, I remember just seeing him in the car. And he had a tarp over the back and he was attempting to take his life. And I swung open the car door and I pulled right next to him. So then I got his car door open and I started screaming for him to wake up and he was not waking up. I remember my lungs just burning. And I started screaming at the kids to get inside. And at that point, I thought they were inside, but they kept coming back out. And I called 911 and Lincoln was still with me. And I threw the phone to Lincoln and I said, talk to them. And there was nobody around, no neighbors or anything. And I remember looking at Lincoln and telling myself, like, don't you dare make him pull his dad out of this car. And so I pulled Brian myself, like, out of his car and I got him on the ground and I started immediately doing CPR. And Lincoln came up to me and he's like, Mommy, they want to talk to you. And it was the operator. And they were already asking, like, if I started, and they were counting through it. And I just kept saying, like, please get somebody here. It felt like forever. And the police showed up and I remember the officer needed to drag him away from the cars and started CPR right away. And then all of my neighbors started coming. And immediately I said, call my brother who is with Lee County. And at this point, they had me go in the house because I kept screaming, like, don't stop. And the kids went to the neighbors so they wouldn't be at our house watching it. So that was kind of the start of, like, I guess the beginning of the end. I think it just, like, normally I can talk through it, but when I talk about, my babies being there.
Yeah. So they got him into the ambulance.
So they did. They were able to get a pulse, but he coded 3 times on the way to the hospital.
Yep.
I went with my brother and we raced there. And when I walked in, I don't think they had anything in the system yet. My brother was trying to tell him who came in. And I remember just falling to the ground because I thought they were kind of not telling me he was gone. And I remember just praying, like, don't let that be it. Like, please, like, don't let that be it. They took us to a room. We were trying to call Jeff and call the siblings and just try and get everybody to the hospital.
Yep.
You know, I remember seeing Amy and just telling her I was so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
It, you know, felt like, you know, all that was my fault, that I should have been with him. You know, but I can say, like, nothing in me would have left him, like, not a second. If I thought, you know, I'd lived a whole year like that, you know, not a part of me would have left him had I thought anything remotely would have happened, you know. So yeah. I think it just definitely felt.
Yeah. I can't be Jesus for you in the moment.
Yeah.
Because you already received truth from him on this stuff, but it doesn't mean that the sadness of it doesn't go away. You know, it's interesting. You've gotten so much healing from that place. And even as we're both sitting here, I'm even worked up in tears too with you a bit, but it's because we think about the sadness of the whole situation. It's Jesus has spoken so much truth to you in this moment later, but it's okay because we look back and we go, okay, wow. You know, this is a great picture too, Krista. We got to remind ourselves as believers that when we get there, he'll wipe away.
Yes.
And that, what a picture.
I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, I know. Oh, yes. I mean, yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got him there. You're talking to Amy and you just felt like you do, you know, and by the way, the entire family, you know, everybody loves you so much. You know, you have been always cared for. We're there. We're at the hospital. Jeff knows. What's going on now?
So we were still in the ER, and I do remember one of my best friends was working at Gulf Coast, and she came down, and I remember knowing it was bad, but I didn't want to accept it because I saw the other nurse tell her something. And for a split second, I saw my friend's face, just like she closed her eyes really quick. Her like head drops. Like you just saw this moment where she didn't have composure and she comes back.
Yeah.
And here later, I found out that they were saying that he had no reflex when they were intubating him. And so the lowest form, like he should have. And so we get up to the ICU. At this point, you know, he's still having some like movements. But it was all just the natural way of the body, you know, just, you know, he was already gone, even though they had him on life support. I'm still talking to him. I'm in denial. I know that this is really bad. I know it's 3 minutes. You know, I know this is bad. I couldn't accept it. And just still talking to him, holding his hand. No, not a chance I was leaving him. They couldn't do all the brain function tests until like, I believe it was 24 hours after, because that's how much the carbon monoxide affects the brain. So they really don't know how bad it is until you wait. And so nothing was being said. It was just, we had to wait for them to do the brain function tests. And I'm still like, God's going to do a miracle. Like he's coming out of this. Like, Brian, you are in so much trouble. Like your parents are coming. We all know Cindy. I'm like, she's going to be so mad. Like, you know, I'm like, you better like get up soon, you know? And I'm just like, come on. And I just remember being like, okay, well, he's definitely going to have to go to the hospital like after this, you know, and get a lot of help, but like he's still coming out of it. I mean, and
this is how you're processing.
This is how I'm processing. I can't grasp what's actually happening. I remember Steve was in the room with me and I'm like, he's moving. And, you know, Steve's an amazing nurse. And he's just like, like, I mean, he knows it's bad, you know, and I know it's bad, but I'm not going to accept it. Yeah. So the next day, Brian's parents got in town. Remember, they were across country. Yeah.
And by the way, that was Steve's way of loving you in that moment too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? He was like, Krista, that's dumb. Like he's, you know, he was, those are nerve ending.
Right. Yep.
I mean, that's just Steve though. I mean, we all love Steve and if you're having a really bad moment, he's the most calm person in the room. So he's Steve.
Yeah.
So Steve's the one to have in the room with you when you're losing it, and I really was losing everything. Everything was out the window and in complete denial. And Steve's like, okay.
Hey, Three Doves podcast listeners. My name is Justin Hannikin, and I've been a guest on episodes 3 and 4 of this podcast. I'm here to share with you today about a tangible way that we can live out our honest faith through real stories to see lives transformed. I'm part of a group called the Million Movement, and we have a goal to see 1 million children sponsored by the year 2050. I had the opportunity to travel to Ethiopia in 2009 to meet my sponsored child with Food for the Hungry, and my life has never been the same since. Could you take a minute and visit www.themillionmovement.com to read more about our vision? And then, if you're able to sponsor a child, you'll find a way to do so right at that link. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at the.million.movement because I want to send you a free gift to help you on your sponsorship journey. Again, that's www.themillionmovement.com. And now back to this week's episode.
When you were going through all that, not to make anything, just to share a part of a different perspective.
Yes.
My role, I felt in that was to pray. Mm-hmm. And I just began praying for you guys, praying. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Mm-hmm. And then pretty much like you said, Stephen came out and he was able to kind of give us an idea. And I knew then, of course, I already had this feeling. Yeah. And, but that was a very difficult place, Krista, for anybody.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult place even right now, to watch somebody with that type of reflex going, they're still here.
Yeah.
They're still with me. Mm-hmm. But in your heart, the truth was, I think you knew, but you didn't.
For sure.
Yeah. You didn't want to know. You didn't want it to be over. Of course not.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Like he was just fine. And I think that's the point where I was so confident he was going to be okay. I mean, I remember praying, God, if this is my 40 years in the desert with a husband that's so depressed and, anxious, I'll do it. I just want to be with him.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what that looks like.
Yeah. He's your best friend.
Yeah. I'm like, it doesn't matter in sickness and in health. So I could not comprehend Brian wasn't coming out of that. I could not comprehend him not being here. Never crossed my mind. I mean, I figured if, Brian would always say, if you ever leave me, I'm going with you. Like, that's just how we think. I mean, there wasn't an option for either one of us not to be with each other. It just wasn't, I couldn't comprehend what was happening.
How did it make you feel though, that he went on without you?
Oh, so mad. Like, so mad. Yeah. I remember being like, that was the meanest thing, how you did it in front of our kids and that you left me here to deal with all this, you know? And I remember thinking if I didn't have these kids in the car, I would have just gotten in with them. Been like, okay, I guess we're doing this. Like, you're not going without me. That's so rude. We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Don't. We were supposed to go like The Notebook, you're just both going in your sleep. And I mean, that's just how I never expected it to go the way it did.
So you're in a place of denial.
Oh, for sure.
You're fighting it.
Yeah.
And then came time for the decision. I remember that.
So they had asked me, everyone kept asking me to go home and like shower and like clean up. At this point, my knees are I'm like bloodied and gravel in my knees from CPR. And I refused. And they had to do the tests, the brain scans and all the tests, to tell us what was going on. And I refused to leave. My friend so graciously took me to her floor that she had worked on. And there was a, communal like shower. And I just remember showering. I threw away my clothes. I had friends bring out their clothes and I threw away the clothes I was wearing. And they were just trying to get me to leave the room just so they could do what they needed to do. And at that point, we all came back in the room. It's kind of spotty what I remember, I think, because it was just so.
Krista, do you think, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but do you think maybe throwing away those clothes somehow subconsciously was some symbolic act for you in that moment?
I think it was just me not wanting to accept still what was happening. I think if I kept the clothes and the blood all over them, I would have to accept Brian attempted to take his life and I wasn't there. And I didn't want to scrub the blood out. I never wanted to see those clothes again. I never wanted to see this moment. So why would I remember my mom being like horrified. She's like, where are your clothes? I'm like, I threw them out. Like, why would I ever want those like back? This is the worst day of my life, you know? And so, yeah, it was just.
It was you trying to dump off the pain.
Yeah. It was just, I can't do this. I can't, I never want this again.
Rightly
I don't want to clean this. I'll never wear this outfit again and not think of this moment, you know? So I definitely, got rid of that. Went back to the room, and I believe we were all together. And the doctor came in and explained that he was brain dead.
Yep. I was there when she came in. Yep.
And that was just horrifying.
And I remember when we were standing there, all of us as a family, I remember touching Brian's arm. And I knew, you know, we knew. Brian wasn't there. But I also remember the Holy Spirit prompting me to look you in the eyes when you came up from the, you remember that?
I do.
To just say, there's hope, you know what I mean? Just to give you that it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think you caught it, but I saw such, like you said, there was such a, and I just picked up on it in the spirit, such a deep anger.
Yeah.
And not just anger, just this deep pain that came out of your eyes at that moment. And I was like, you know, I didn't even know, you know, from that point on, I was just listening in to the Spirit, and it was what it was supposed to be. So Brian is now off life support.
Yeah. So before that even happened, after they said he was brain dead, they asked us about donating his organs.
Thank you. Yes.
And I do remember everyone kind of being like, well, that's your decision. Like you have to, you know, make this decision. And I did legally, but I remember everybody too was like, you decide. Yeah. And I also knew as a nurse that I had to decide pretty quick because his organs were going to start failing. So I think maybe within a few hours, like decided to donate. And at that point, they had asked if I wanted,
yeah, it's okay.
If I wanted our children to come in and say goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was very clear to me in that moment that the last image that they had of Brian would not be on the concrete. It was very clear that I wanted them to see that everybody did everything we could to keep him here and to keep him alive. And I had to have them see the lengths the doctors, nurses, family, everybody went through, because I knew I could not just tell them like, oh, he just died. And so I made the decision to have the kids come in, and I had to tell our 4 very like beautiful children that, you know, Daddy was going to heaven, and they could see him if they wanted to. The child life specialists were amazing in the room. They explained there was going to be a lot of noises, a lot of machines. They brought in little crafts to do. They did like thumbprints with Brian on little wooden hearts. They did handprints.
Yeah.
They were very sweet, and they let us spend as much time, you know, with him. Yeah. I don't know how much time we were there for, and we had like all, you know, a lot of the grandparents were there. At this point, people are flying in because of the news. I decided that the kids needed to leave once they started coming in to take all the blood for, you know, checking his organ functions and stuff for the donations. We had a donation ceremony where they raised the flag. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember it. Yeah.
The organ donation ceremony. That was very kind. A lot of people showed up for that. They
lined up the hallways when they're wheeling them down.
They read out, we each wrote like about him. So they would read it before.
That's right.
And then Brian and I spent time together, you know, and I just played worship music and.
Yeah. It's okay.
You know, just kept telling him, like, I remember specifically saying, you have to see who Lincoln's going to marry. Like, you know, Like, we just know she's going to be amazing. And I was like, I can't believe you're not going to see this. And, our grandbabies. And, so I just kept talking to him, and everybody was saying bye. And, they had cautioned me to, they said I could go to the OR, but, they just cautioned me a lot was going to be, going on, and that, at this point, I might just want this to be the last moment. And they had, I asked them to call me when his heart stopped beating, to let me know that he was officially gone. And the nurse did, call me, the next morning really early. I didn't go home. Obviously, the kids went with my brother. And I just went to a friend's house, and they had called to let me know, he was gone.
Yeah.
So he did help a lot of people. He, I know he donated parts of his eyes and skin and liver and
Wow.
I think kidneys too. I'm not sure. I have the paper at home, who it all went to. It took me years to read it though.
Yeah, I bet. I remember. Yeah, it was a long journey. But in that tragedy, God was still working.
Oh,
God was still doing amazing things through you, through the family, through the kids. I saw the brothers step up to be fathers. I saw Jeff take on a role to really help out during that time. And
he's amazing.
Oh, and Steve and all the girls, Amy and Katrina, and Amy was like, go over and fix this.
Oh
go over.
My gosh. And the amount of time you guys took the kids, because I'm like, I can't do this. You guys got to take them. I really can't do this anymore.
Yeah. But that was a time that you needed to gain back.
Oh my gosh. And just to grieve.
Yeah.
I think
Tell me about the grieving, because that's important. And people going through this process, listening.
It's different. Yeah. I wouldn't know what it's like on the other side, but when you're grieving with kids and young kids that are grieving, your stuff goes on the back burner.
Yeah.
I needed them to know I missed their dad. I needed them to know that I felt pain, but I also needed to give a front hey, we're going to be okay. This is really bad, but I got this. And then I would go in the other room and be like, I do not got this. I don't even know how to log into the bank info. The lawyer's saying, try to keep paying the mortgage. They might take the house. I mean, I literally was like, guys, we're going to be okay. Dad told me what to do. And then I would go in the other room and cuss Brian out for not telling me what to do.
Wow.
And so it was a very, I don't have time to really grieve in the moment because I have to get them through, and I have to fake it till I make it and make sure that they know we're going to be okay.
I had no idea. I had no idea you were going through all that, Krista.
Oh yeah. It was, and get them to school on time. So, and tell them daddy's in heaven.
Real life.
And pretend you're okay because of it, but also don't seem like a robot and you don't miss them. So it was a really hard balance. And I think Boston, he's our oldest. He saw the worst of it.
Yeah.
I was cautioned early on not to, lean on him like a husband, but he definitely felt the weight of being the oldest and I better keep it together because mom's going to lose it.
I remember.
Can't handle one more thing.
No, I remember.
And he really did take on that role. As much as I told him not to, he obviously did. And I was struggling a lot. I struggle with my own mental health after that. I mean, it was within a year, I was extremely suicidal, depressed, seeing doctors, just being so I don't want to go on anymore. And it was a lot on him specifically and all of them, but trying to get them through grief while also grieving. It's only Jesus. I can tell you only Jesus is why I'm sitting here, because it was an insurmountable pain that I thought I would never come out and get through.
Ready to feel unstoppable? Hit Chill Cold Plunge in Cape Coral, now with 2 locations on Del Prado and Chiquita. Cold Plunge, recovery, and total reset all in one place. Boost your energy, crush inflammation, and get back to your best? Well, get to Chill in Cape Coral. Take the plunge today. Their phone number is 239-204-5778. That's 239-204-5778. What were some of the encounters, if you want to share, you and Jesus through some of this stuff, some of the things that God was teaching and talking you through, because that brought a lot of hope when I heard some of your stories just throughout the years. I was like, I didn't, what?
I know. Yeah. Ebenezer's. I had Ebenezer's everywhere. Yeah. And there was definitely a point in time where I even went to the, Lowe's and got rocks. And I would write on the bottom of the rocks, a moment to keep living. I had one at the nail salon, and I would be like, okay, nail salon, pay the bill. And, I'd put my Ebenezer out by the pool so I could see it. And, another one,
explain Ebenezer in case people don't understand. So Ebenezer.
It's like a point in time where God really came through. You could probably explain it better than I can. But it's a point in time where God really came through for you. And it's like this physical thing that you can look at, because we're human and we forget and we think nothing good is ever going to happen again.
And in Israel, they would do the stones and stack them. Right.
And I actually needed stones to stack and that I could go out and look at and be like, God, this is terrible right now. I'm never going to laugh again. I'm never going to smile again. My kids are probably all going to end up in jail because that's what statistics say is going to happen because they don't have a dad. I mean, all of these things. And I would go out and I'd look at my Ebenezer, or I'd look at it once the pile started getting tall, and I would be like, okay, but you're good and you got me through that. So you're going to get me through this. And there was one of the lowest points where I was like, I got to start writing this down in a physical form I can look at, because I don't think I'm getting through dinner time.
Yeah. So. And that's what kind of got you into that journey of writing more after. Yeah. And then starting the post. I saw the post coming out on Facebook. Yeah. But I've watched the transition though, from the pain and the suffering. Doesn't mean that the sadness, like even as we're reminiscing today, isn't still there. Yeah. But there's a different level of healing that's come about of all this. And I watched you through your grieving process when we go on the family trips, and you're like, oh, I really just you didn't want to be there. But then you came and you would just go for these long runs, walks, and you're gone. Yeah. And by the way, you had lost so much weight at one time. We as a family, I was like, is she getting enough nourishment? Like we were all a little nervous for you because of just the
able to even eat. Yeah. I remember my parents coming over and watching me eat, and I would try and eat, and I would go through. I mean, that's how deep the grief was. Not only did I not want to eat, I could not eat. And that was hard for the kids to see. I know there were points where Boston just be in the bathroom with me. And
how did God heal that?
Gosh, I will tell you my lowest points where I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I know how I'm going to, take myself out of the equation. There was somebody who knew Brian, and he messaged me on Facebook and was like, you need to go try EMDR therapy, because at this point I'm not functioning. I don't want to function. Yeah. I'm not functioning. I hear an ambulance. I'm having a panic attack. Yeah. I'm looking at the clock. And if it's the time I found Brian, I'm having a panic attack. I didn't even want to go home to our house. So there's a lot of things. And EMDR really gave me a lot of healing with that. And it was a Christian therapist too. So she would sit there, kind of like the apostolic prayer, and ask me, okay, like Jesus was there with you. Like, what was happening in that moment? Yeah. And so we would just go through, and I would definitely, look up EMDR if you have any kind of trauma or anything, because it really is what kickstarted me to wanting to live again. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. So there's tools. There's people out there. If you're in this situation, every situation is different. Yeah. Right, Krista? We've talked a little bit about that before, where, you might grieve a little different than your child. Yeah. Your family members, we're grieving along with you through all that. Here we are, and God's taking this big ball of messiness and chaos. Yes. And he's doing a lot of work inside your heart through your writing, through your ministering to others who are going through this. It didn't start immediately, but it took a few years. Yes. And then the Lord started working in you again to, hey, Krista, let's start living. Let's start walking in life. Death is here. Yes. Death is there. but you're called to walk in life. Tell me a little bit about that calling of walking in life here.
I think once Brian died, I wanted the Band-Aid. I wanted the pain to be over. So there were certain things I was turning to just make the hurting stop, just to get me through. And one of those was a relationship that started not in the best way, should never have happened. And God really ended that like very abruptly. Yeah. And I just had like emotional whiplash. I couldn't believe I'd come to a place again of somebody just out of my life so abruptly. But that was really the beginning of it. And understanding God removed that person because I was starting to go down that path of that person being like everything, and so God took
bringing the idol back in.
Yes. Yeah. And it wasn't for me. And God was just like, no more. Like, this isn't what I have for you. And I knew that wasn't what God had for me, but it was good enough because it didn't hurt all the time.
Right.
And so once that was removed, it was kind of like the floodgates opened of the grief, and I could actually grieve. For the first time, I was actually alone. And it was just me and Jesus. Yeah. Every night. It was me yelling at God. It was me saying really awful things. When you get like in a fight with your spouse and the next day you wake up and you're like, this is awkward, and like that's how my nights would go. I'd like yell at God and be like, I can't believe you did this and blah, 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 and the next day I wake up and be like, sorry, that was uncalled for. I overreacted and, all these
just
things.
You and Jesus.
Just me and Jesus, and it was great. And I was in counseling at that point too, Christian counseling, and my counselor is amazing. Yeah. So that was really where, he's just like, that's not what I have for you. Yeah. Why would you want to go back to that? Yeah. And that's really where I started to heal from something that I thought was super terrible. I'm like, that's so amazing. What God
those Ebenezer moments, Ebenezer moments. Yes. You found quite a few of those signs though, when you went and remodeled a bedroom, I remember.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah.
Tell us about that quickly. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I didn't think Brian liked me that much when he, left.
Right. Yeah. Brian was sick. Brian had a sickness.
It took me a long time to understand that, I think, until my own sickness. Yeah. To me, I was like, how could somebody do that? But then when I became extremely suicidal, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So at this point, before any of that kind of happened, I was like, man, Brian really hated me. He just like up and left. Like, I suck. Like, I'm just the worst person ever. He had to get out of here, and Satan's like, yeah, you're right. You're terrible. If you were a better wife, he'd still be here. And that's all I'm hearing. And we had gone through Irma, and there was a lot I had to redo to the house myself, which made me even more mad. Because Brian wasn't there. I don't know how to do anything. Right. Now I have to pay somebody to do it. That sure doesn't feel great. And so I was moving a dresser out of the girls' room, and on the back of the dresser was painted, I love Krista. And it was just so sweet. And it really did. Yeah. That moment was an Ebenezer because it stopped me in my tracks of Satan. Like, Satan didn't get to say that anymore. Satan didn't get to tell me he never loved you. You made this worse. If he married somebody else, he'd still be here, and all these things. And
lies.
I know they're all lies. And, so that was a huge Ebenezer. Another one I remember at the nail salon, somebody was like, are you excited about Christmas? I'm like, no. She's like, aren't you just so excited about the kids and stuff? I'm like, no, like, please stop asking me questions. Like, I don't want to talk, obviously. And she goes, yeah, but what are you doing for Christmas? I'm like, ma'am, my husband just died. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm like, my 4 kids are probably going to hate me, all these things. And the lady next to me like gets up and leaves. And I'm like, okay, well, now I've really cleared the room. The nail lady's not talking to me. Nobody's talking around me. Yeah. And she comes back and she goes, I just want you to know, honey, like, I paid the bill. Like, just like Jesus does, right? Jesus pays the bill. And she's like, I paid the bill. And I want you to know, like, good things are coming.
Wow. So she accepted where you were.
Yeah.
In your pain, in your grief, and your probably a little snippiness, because that's, your little attitude.
I was like, please stop.
That goes back to the Krista attitude.
It does, though. I'm like, please stop. I'm giving clear signs. Yeah. I'm not comfortable. I don't want to talk about Christmas.
Yeah. But she goes and pays your bill in full and comes back as personification of Christ.
Yeah.
And then you're a spirit and you caught that. And the Lord's like, hey, Krista.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're paid for.
And tells me it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
Like good things are coming.
Good things are coming.
Let's
talk about those good things. Let's talk about those good things in the last 5-10 minutes we got together here.
Sure.
What are some of those good things now?
Oh my god.
That came out of it. I mean, yes. I know 3 good things.
I know 3 good things too.
Yeah.
Mike, so I got remarried.
Yeah.
We've been married 3 years now.
Yeah.
And even though we both swore we didn't want kids together, any more kids, we have 2 little babies. We have Everett and Elowen.
Still can't pronounce her name right.
It's okay. We just call her Winnie.
I'm supposed to be her uncle.
Look at her and just be like, you. She'll forgive you. She's so sweet.
I love her. She's so sweet. She smiles at me all the time.
She is so sweet.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's been great. Ton of healing.
Yeah.
Mike, I will tell you, oh my gosh, getting remarried was not easy.
No.
It was a really tough road.
I don't even know. Like, I thought I was invited to like an engagement party and all of a sudden
we're like, surprise, we're getting married.
Surprise. Well, we're all like, what?
I mean, looking back, I'm like, yeah, we should have definitely had a lot of counseling before that. But we're like, let's just get married. Let's move all these kids in together. And that, that just
like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah. We're like, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
We were not fine. And we had to go through a lot of things, a lot of counseling, but I will tell you, he loved me through so many awful things I've said to him and my grief. It really did open up where I thought I was healed. It opened up a lot. And then
relationships have that ability, don't they?
I know.
God uses them.
Just
Scalpels. The scalpels.
Scalpel.
Inside joke here. Not joke, but inside experience. The scalpels. Yeah.
Yeah. God's like using them to cut away the ick in us. And God was definitely using Mike for that. And that's hard anyways. The kids, some of them have had a really hard time with me getting remarried to Mike, and obviously babies.
Obviously.
And so they miss their dad. I miss their dad.
Yeah.
Brian's very real to us. Sure. I married an amazing man who asked me questions about Brian, who wants to know Brian better because he can know the kids better. He wants to know about my life. He's not intimidated by Brian. He's not jealous about Brian. He really is. He is my second chance. Like he really is, he's not my second choice. He's my second chance at, finding love and healing. And he does lead me to Jesus just by the way he treats me. Yeah. He's very sweet. He's so he's so stable and even, and I'm not.
No, don't paint a picture here that you're this crazy person running around. No, that's not true.
No, but I think emotional.
Because you're so in touch, and Chris, this is just the truth. And for those listening, you're so in touch with the inner workings of what God is doing in you and the emotional stuff. Maybe, you look at it and go, wow, I'm such a mess. But you know what? You're no different than anybody else because you have that identity of Jesus Christ living in you.
Amen.
And who he calls you by name.
Yes.
Right. And because of that calling and by name, you are able to walk out of the grave and into a place of life and into a garden, which is blooming. Right. Yeah. I mean, you have 2 beautiful children. You've got 4 existing children, and Mike's got a couple extra children from a previous marriage, and it works. I watched the dynamic and I sat back and I'm like, that's a lot. But if anybody could do this, if anybody in their life could be called into a place of this, that's Krista and Mike right here.
Wow.
Because you guys, God has already positioned you for what he's called you into. And it's no doubt from our family perspective that the widow's ministry and working with people who have mental crises and the depression. Yeah. Mike works on an app and I get kind of sucked in. I've been really bad at helping, but this is the truth. No, it is. But he gets into this app because he cares, Krista. His heart is for helping others see truth.
It is.
Like yours.
Yes.
And that's the best way I could say to end this podcast is that what would you say to people out there? I want to let you say it, that have gone through something similar or going through this. What would you leave them with in that?
I would definitely leave them with something I was told at one of my darkest times. I remember Rachel Faulkner Brown, who leads Never Alone, she told us at a retreat, she goes, your best days are not behind you, they're ahead. And that really upset me in the moment.
Why so?
It just felt like a lie. Like how am I ever going to be happy again without Brian? How am I ever going to see my kids smile again with what they witnessed and the trauma they witnessed? But she was right. She's been right. And that is what I tell people. Like, you will like smile again. You will laugh. You are going to see God's goodness in the land of the living, and you are still living. So he's not done yet. Your best days aren't behind you. They're ahead. They are.
Krista, thank you for, try not to choke up on that one. Sharing your heart and the thing that you went through, and the most painful thing, losing someone that you deeply loved. But the outcome of that is an amazing story of God's grace, God's mercy, God's forgiveness, and your forgiveness, and all that is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And what you heard today is real life pain, questions, and a road that most people never expect to walk. But right in the middle of it, there's a truth you can hold on to. God does not waste anything. And Krista's story is a reminder that even when everything feels broken, healing is still possible. Step by step, day by day, God rebuilds what we thought was lost. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs hope. And remember this, no matter where you are today, no matter how heavy it feels, your best days are not behind you, they're ahead. We'll see you next time on the Three Doves Podcast. And as always, God bless.